Okay, I believe we can start the workshop now. Um, Thank you to all the attendees and teachers for being patient. We will get started. I would like to hand the time over to our dance teacher, Mr. Sanjeevan, who will be starting out the program, and he will also be introducing our resource person for today. Right. Sam, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those kind words. Okay, let's start. Good morning, students, teachers, educators, and artists. For all those who don't know us, we are the Performing Arts Department of the Heritage Experiential Learning School. The school itself is committed to an experiential project-based pedagogy and integrated curriculum, and since its inception has established a formidable reputation for itself as a progressive, innovative school in the time that it has been operational. As most of you are aware, we have started off our annual Art Fest, which is our annual celebration of the arts, which spans over the course of a week and is conducted to give a rich, unique experience to students for an overall growth in the visual and performing arts. During this time, we, PA department, partner with Visual Arts Department, and we hold a variety of events such as Art Expos, where students get to showcase the different works of art that they have worked on over the year. We hold workshops for different disciplines, seminars, concerts, and even our intra-school performing arts competitions. This is the 16th year of the annual Art Fest celebrations, and the event continues to grow in scale and scope with each passing year. There have been a few hiccups along the way, most prominently due to the ongoing pandemic. To that, I implore all of you to stay healthy and keep safe. Due to this, we have shifted the Art Fest to an online platform, and this too with wholehearted support and love from the school and various authorities. This is the third workshop of our fest, and with that, I introduce you to the speaker of the day, Dr. Ruchika Sharma, India. We welcome you, ma'am. Dr. Ruchika Sharma has been trained in both Jaipur and Lucknow Gharanas with Guru Madan Lal Gangani and Guru Nainika Ghosh. She's a dancer, choreographer, and actor who teaches history at undergraduate level in Delhi University. Among her many performances, she was a part of culture exchange and performance delegation from JNU to Osaka in the world, Japan, for a month in 2008. Acted in Madhavi at Aurangzeb, 10 shows directed by Professor K.S. Rajendran. She has been also associated with Aitala Campus Theatre. She performed and was one of the choreographers for We Women on International Women's Day in the year 2015 at the International Center, New Delhi. So without taking much more time, I present you to the speaker of the day, Dr. Ruchika Sharma.
Thank you so much, Sanjeevan. I would like to start by thanking Heritage Experiential Learning School. Thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to come here, speak to some of the fellow educators, speak to students. And I think for a dancer and a teacher, it's one of the best opportunities to not just talk to students, but also to talk about dance, right? And today, what I have planned for all of you is a brief kind of a workshop, which will include a brief discussion about dance. It will have a brief discussion about various forms, as well as certain common points. There we always think of classical dance. We think of an image of something going on back in the past in history. Yes, we are the product of our histories. We all have reached here because we have lived through histories. Generations have lived through histories. Our ancestors, have lived through this history. But how have we reached here? How have the dance forms have reached here? They have evolved. Yes, of course. Everything evolves. Everything changes. I think every philosophy tells us that in the world. So what have the forms undergone the changes? Some of that. And also, I will talk about the commonalities. This is something, one of the most, I would say, fascinating parts. We wonder, why do Kathak dancers dress up the way they do? Why do Kathakali dancers have such huge eye makeup? I mean, what is the use of that? I think these are questions, I mean, I used to ask that when I used to watch classical dance performances, either live or on television. And I'm here to try and answer some of your questions and those concerns. And I have a PowerPoint presentation for that benefit, and I will also be showing you some videos just to familiarize you guys with the dance form. As Sanjeevan said, we are, going through a very tough time in the world. We're going through a pandemic, so we will try and utilize technology to, bring to you these forms in these videos, these small clips I will show you. And if you're interested, what I will do is I will share the links to those clips for you all. So, I mean, if I'm not able to play an entire clip for half an hour, I will share the clip. You guys can, of course, see it a little later. I will also maybe a little bit touch upon some of the great personalities, some of the, performers who we all have heard about. We know their names. Who are those people? What dance forms do they perform? And last but not the least, what about cinema? Does cinema Has cinema ever used classical dance? Yes. I think now a little less, because the movies have changed, but I can give you names of films that were based purely on dance forms. Either the movies that were based on the life of, think of Mughal Azam. It's based around life of one of the performers in the Mughal court. Of course, it's based on a story, but it's popular history. Similarly, we have a movie called Nache Mayuri, yeah, which is again based on a real life of a dancer who, faces a tragic accident and her fight because she wants to dance. And any dancer would relate how we want to dance. So I will try and bring these aspects to you. But before I start, I thought I will start by asking all of you, how many classical dances can you all identify? I mean, have you heard the names of classical dancers? If you have, you can write down in the chat box, or you can speak up
Yeah,
if you want.
yeah.
Yes, how many classical dances are you aware of?
Yeah.
नाम सुना है, देखे हैं, सीखा है, घर में कोई डांस करता है, can be anyways, but yes.
I will ask all the attendees to put down their answers in their chat box so that from there we can take it. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, just to give you a little notice, all the attendees, this session has been recorded for educational purpose, and this will be put up on our YouTube channel later on so that you can refer back to it. Yeah. Thank you. Ma'am, you can go ahead.
Yes. So, are you aware of any of the classical dance forms? Sanjeevan mentioned I do Kathak. So there is one Kathak. Any other classical dance forms that you have maybe watched a performance or are aware of? I know it's a very strange way to interact, but that's the only way we can interact. So maybe I've given the first answer. Maybe the teachers would like to answer. Anybody? First thing that comes to mind, I said Kathak. Anything else? Yes, yes. Thanks, Dhruvika. Bharatnatyam. Shalu says Kathak, Bharatnatyam, Kathakali. Very good. I'm going to be discussing all of these. Yes. Manipuri. Yes, absolutely. Kuchipudi.
Something different, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, for all these. Odissi, yes. How could you forget Odissi? Yes, obviously. So these are the dance forms that come to mind when we say Indian classical dances. Now, these classical dances emerge in different regions, in different parts. I'm going to be sharing my screen with all of you. They emerged in different parts of the subcontinent at different points in history. I'm a historian, so I always end up going back to history, but I will not, I've promised myself I'll not do too much of dates and history, but still, yes. So when we look at, this is a painting that I've used here. This is a painting by a European officer who comes to, actually his wife, they come to India in the 19th century, and she drew this performance that she saw. All right. Now, if you look at this in the older time, before we have cassettes, before we have recordings, people used to often perform with live musicians. In fact, I also remember learning Kathak with my guru, who used to often play one instrument and somebody else will be playing another instrument. So we were given a training to sort of interact with different instruments. So the one thing we remember is that classical dances have a very close relationship with both the instrument, because you are using the beats, you're using a cyclical beat. So जैसे rhythm होता है, तो वो कैसे आता है? So we have a percussion, tabla, mridangam. Like this person is here is holding the mridangam, pakhavaj. There are multiple such instruments that give you the beat. Okay, that's called the tala or the tal in the cyclical beat. We of course have the melody. Somebody sings, something is sung, because you perform with expression. आप एक भाव प्रस्तुत कर रहे हैं, आप एक चीज कहना चाह रहे हैं. So dance basically that becomes a way of expressing oneself. You're expressing something without having to say it. You are saying it through your expressions. I think that way I would say that almost all the art forms, whether it's through poetry, whether it's through painting, sculpture, instrumental music, singing, and dance, all these are expressions. I think dance becomes most difficult in a way and most fascinating because we don't verbalize. Dancers don't speak. They have to use their bodies, and they have to use their emotions, and their bodies are instruments by which they will express their emotions. So if a dancer is raising the eyebrow, you can't see my eyebrows here, but anyways, if a dancer is raising the eyebrow, it will have a meaning. And we use the mudras. I will talk about them. We have the body movements. I'll show you all of that. But just if you look at this painting in this first page of my slide, you realize that this is an entire troupe where dance is the center of the entire event. Now, going to the history of dance, dancers often rely on a text called Natya Shastra by Bharat Muni. It's written roughly between 500 BCE to 500 CE. It's a long time span within which it is said to have been composed. We do have other texts also. There are many texts that talk about the various theories about dance. They talk about, and not just dance, actually, I would say art forms. Okay. The word is often kala. Kala means art forms, and the various kalas, dance is one of those. So we have Ras Manjari, we have Ras Darpan, we have many texts, but Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra is said to be the one where the earliest writings emerge, both on dance as well as on the abhinaya, acting. Right now, the scholars will tell us that how Sangeet, music, dramatics, dance, all these are of course interrelated. As I said, these are all forms of expression where you say something and it is largely said not as a conversation between two people, but largely with the audiences. All right. And just imagine when we are now performing, in your school, I visited your school, there's a beautiful performance space, you have a stage. So when you are on a stage, you're performing on a stage, you're on a height, right? The audience who's sitting can see. हम लोग perform करते हैं stage पे जो ऊंचा होता है, right? But in the previous time, dancers would usually perform either in the temple or in the palace of a ruler. Now, both the spaces, the center of the focal point was not the dancer, but either the god to whom the temple was dedicated to, or the ruler whose darbar, whose court the performance was taking place. So in that sense, the performing audience will sit differently. There were no lights, the spotlights. Like now, if you're performing, we have the spotlight. We know spot kahan dalna hai, spot kahan dena hai. Just imagine that these dance forms have evolved through history before all these technologies even existed. Okay, so if you're performing in the evenings or at night, because common people would be working throughout the day, when would they come and watch the dance? In the evening. So they would dance probably, if you look at these performance spaces of Kathakali, these are like these surround spaces in between with spaces to put lights. Mashal jalti hai, the fire was the source of light at that point. So we see that a lot of the way dance is done has also changed. हम dance कैसे करते हैं वो form शायद similar है, but dance का space क्या, where are we performing? what is the space, what are the dynamics between the audience and the viewers. Now when I'm dancing on the stage, lights are on my face, I can't see my audience, but my audience can see me. One expression, one time I do this, my audience can notice, oh, she did that, see uska eyebrow raise hua. So the lights have, of course, technology has added to it. It's added to our advantage. Imagine the singers. When singers were singing before the mics, जब माइक नहीं होते थे और आपके पास में इतनी सारी ऑडियंस है, जस्ट इमेजिन द अमाउंट ऑफ एफर्ट, the amount of lung capacity it would have required for the singers to perform for a large audience, right? Even as dancers, when we were learning, our gurus would tell us, always dance thinking of the last row in the audience, because that's the most difficult part to reach. जो आपके पास बैठे हैं front में, they can see your face, they can see your mudra. So if you look at this, we put those alta on our fingertips, nail polish or alta lagta hai, because if I'm doing this mudra, or if I'm doing this mudra, somebody sitting at the end can only see my mudra if I have color on my on the tips of my fingers. So we realize that a lot of the makeup and the appearance of the dance, the jewelry, the dark colors. I mean, most of the classical dances in India, they will not use pastel colors. I mean, now people use, but usually they will use very traditional colors. They will use red, they will use green, yellow, they will use purple maybe as a color, but they will not use light colors, because for an audience sitting far away, these colors would not be visible. They will drown you out in the distance. So we see that all these things have wonderfully evolved along with time, over time, and with our understanding. The one thing that sort of remained clear is that dance is basically a language we are speaking through movement. हम एक बात कहना चाह रहे हैं, हम अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करना चाह रहे हैं, जहाँ पे हम शब्दों का इस्तेमाल नहीं कर सकते. We can't speak up, so we have to use our body. It has to be a movement. So if I'm showing something like in a field, I'm doing this. So the audience knows that I'm expressing happiness. I'm swaying. If the Krishna is playing the bansuri and the gopi is standing, she will not be unmoved by the music, because Krishna is playing the flute. He's the best flutist around. So she's swaying. So just by the body, you're expressing so many emotions. And that's where movement becomes a kind of language that dancer speaks with their audiences. They basically kind of manifest the inner state, what you're thinking. So we realize that the idea of rasa, the emotion that the dancer is trying to portray, the Indian classical aesthetics, the Indian classical, not just the dance, but also music and poetry, the purpose is they create that feeling in the mind of the viewer, that when the viewer is seeing that viewer doesn't have to be told कि देखो मैं हंसने वाली हूँ, तुम भी हंसना. हाँ, no, you just perform that, you just do that expression, and the audience will react automatically. How is that done? That is enhanced. So music, raga, the what is being sung, the melody which is being sung, and the performance, ये तीनों sync में होंगे. They all three of them will have similar expression. So if you're expressing, like let's say the bhakti bhav you're worshipping, the music will be very somber, बहुत ही soft सा music होगा, थोड़ा गंभीर सा music होगा. The lights will be little dim accordingly. Okay, the dancer will also come with a straight kind of a face, because you're expressing kind of a spiritual emotion. Whereas if you're showing Krishna, who is trying to to do some kind of naughty thing, बचपन वाला जो बाल कृष्ण का दिखाया जाता है, वो मक्खन चुराने अगर जा रहे हैं, so उसका म्यूजिक बहुत एकदम फास्ट होगा. It will have the kind of speed, it will have the emotion that you're trying to express, because remember, you can't write the lyrics on the background, you have to express it. And expression क्या होगा? Okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna just and it's a very childlike emotion that you are expressing. So we realize that all these things have been thought of. The dancers, those who are writing the lyrics, I mean, of course, dancers will pick what lyrics they want to perform, what music will use, which raga will suit this mood. So your mood, your bhava, your emotion has to be expressed. The rasa has to be experienced by those who are viewing. This is a very interesting, I think, part for me, I think, as a dancer, I think this is the most fascinating part of Indian aesthetic, जहाँ पर the audience and the performer, they are of course at different spaces, but they are interconnected by the emotion I am expressing and the emotion that is felt. अगर वो music भी वैसा अब play हो रहा है, lyrics भी वैसे हैं और dance भी वैसा है, it's not possible that the viewer, आप सोचते हैं, oh, I don't know classical dance. No, once you go and sit there, it will affect you because music will impact you, the lyrics will impact you, the performance will impact you. Everything is trying to evoke similar kind of emotion. It's creating similar kind of an aroma and an expression. So we realize that this is how almost all classical dances, have developed. These are again some paintings that have been made through historical era of early colonial period, but the fact that dancers and dancers' bodies were always fascinating throughout human history, not just because in India dance remained a part of so many cultural spaces, so many festivities, births, marriages, any other celebration, dance will be a part of it because dance meant celebration itself. It meant that you can't control your body and body has to celebrate. So the celebration of bodies. So we see that from of course not all the dance forms are classical. Some of them are folk dances and some have evolved as a combination and fusion of many of these. But nonetheless, the classical dances remain more and more in the spaces confined to spiritual or political nature. Again, some of my this is a picture, the one on the left. This is a Nautch girl. Again, wonderful thing is to see the person playing the tabla and the person playing the sarangi, the live musician. The second painting are the Devdasi performers, painting by Tilly Kettle in I think late 18th century. Yeah, so bhava and rasa I was just telling you about. So these are the aspects to remember for a performer. I think I've touched upon some of these, that how music, the choice of music. Your music, you can't be performing a very happy performance, trying to show maybe the adbhut rasa, where something very surprising has happened, and your music is sad. No classical dance will ever do that. It's chosen with a lot of effort, बहुत कुछ सोच करके. I remember once we were performing something and we had to actually pick up a rag. So we listened to multiple ragas and we thought that Rag Durga was appropriate for something which was serious but also melodious, a very evening based kind of rag. So we realized that these are all very deliberate decisions. Similarly, lyrics. So a lot of poetry revolves around the gods and goddesses, a lot of Shaivite and Vaishnavite influence, a lot of, for example, if you look at Bharatnatyam, a lot of Durga is performed, in Bharatnatyam. Other gods and goddesses also. In Kathak, a lot of focus remains on Krishna because, Kathak is performed in northern India mostly, where Vaishnavite influence has been very, very powerful. We do have Shiva, we do have Ganesh Vandana because Ganesh is, Ganesh Vandana is something we often begin our performances with. We also have the other influences, for example, depending upon which region you're performing in. We also have changes through historical eras. For example, in Kathak, when we perform the Namaskar in the beginning, because when you're coming to the stage, you will greet the audiences, which becomes Salami because there's a lot of influence of the Islamic culture in the medieval era. So with the Namaskaram or we do the Salami, okay? But the purpose is the same, that you greet the audience, you basically acknowledge the audience you're performing for, again, establishing a relationship between the performer and the audience. Makeup, as I told you, remains fascinating because I've often asked कि इतना लंबा आप काजल क्यों लगाते हो, इतना makeup क्यों होता है classical dance में? Of course, when we look at from near, it looks a lot of makeup. But once you go on stage, imagine watching a performance, not just earlier, but even now. I mean, if I'm doing this, if I'm showing anger, my eyes will have to do all the talking. How will you see that expression from far away unless and until the makeup is pronounced? Okay, the hands are painted, the alta or sometime other color is put to enhance the hand movement. If I'm doing this, how will you see my finger? Exactly what I'm saying. If I'm doing this, so these tips being painted will actually give you an idea of what exactly I'm trying to portray. So each detail, choti se choti detail, even smallest of detail, the audience will not then miss out. Costume and presentation, I think, are also very fascinating. Anybody who's a dancer here, I think, will agree with me that costume and presentation remain very, very important. Costume, again, I told you, colors would matter, but also the fact that how the dance that you're doing will also impact the costume. For example, if you're doing Bharatnatyam, the costume will allow you to do the aramandi if you're sitting and getting up. So the costume will actually be made keeping in mind the movement. All right. In Kathak, for example, here are chakkars in Kathak. So the costume is made in such a way that the chakkars can be seen from the far off, and their full aesthetic, their beauty can be realized. Of course, the convenience of the dancer, as well as how it would appear when the audience will watch that. So in Kathak, we have both the Angarakha and the Lehenga. So usually it's not always Jaipur Ghana people will wear Lehenga and Lucknow will wear only Angarakha. No, it's not always like that. Very often it will depend. So if I'm doing the footwork, if I'm doing the tatkar and the footwork, I will want my footwork to be visible to the audience. So either I'll wear the Angarakha or I'll lift my lehenga slightly so my footwork is visible, because it's very tough and audience should be able to enjoy that while watching. Presentation, again, will mean what all you're performing, how you're covering the stage. Okay, how much, if you go too much behind the stage, audience cannot see you. If you come too far, the lights will kind of blow up your face, so you have to be careful. We have the lights for that, or sometimes we do the markings. So all these, we realize, have also evolved the way in which technology has come up, or the way in which dance performance have become, I will say, more democratized, because anybody can watch. Now we have, auditoriums, we have open air theaters, जहाँ पे ये बंदिश नहीं रह गई है कौन डांस देखने आ सकता है कौन नहीं आ सकता है. Anybody and everybody. Most of these have nominal tickets, or sometimes not even that. Patterns and routine. Now, hand gestures, body movements, and abhinaya. I'll just come to this, but just to give you an idea about discipline, I think this is a very fascinating thing, because people watch the classical dance and say it's very difficult. Of course, I think every dance form, not just the Indian classical, but every dance form is difficult, which is why, Indian classical dances, like any other art form, takes time. It takes effort. It takes a lot of practice and riyaz to sort of come to the point, where you are confident enough to come on stage. Nobody can just learn for 2 days. No, I mean, I have been learning Kathak since I was 9 years old, and I'm 40 now. So I will say that, I still want to learn some more, because I realize that there's so much to learn. Similarly, if you look at the discipline, so how much time you're going to give to your dance, where you understand. So one of the part is that you know not just the dance, but the music and the tal, the music also, the instrumental music also. So as dancer, you need to know all the aspects of your performance. Now, coming to, as I said in the previous, this thing, hand gestures, it's called mudra. All right. This is the Asayukt Hasta Mudra, single-handed mudras. Now, these have the names next to it. So we have the Pataka, the Tirupataka, Adha Pataka, Kartari Mukha, Mayuram. Now, I think some of the names are very, very obvious. Pataka will mean like a flag. But can you imagine for what all purposes can Pataka be used as a mudra? Pataka, of course, very clearly can be like stop. It can be stop to somebody, like if you run and say stop, it's very dramatic kind of a mudra. What else can it be? What do you think pataka can be? It can be shown to use a dress. If I'm showing like a drape of a something I'm wearing, it can be used as a drape. The hand remains the same. Anything else?
Ma'am, I think Dhruvika has said can be used as a mirror, ma'am.
Yes, can be used as a mirror. Absolutely. Very beautiful. Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. Yes. What else? It can be shown to use rain, rain. Huh? It can be, a body can be, of course, tilted accordingly, but it can show rain. It can show wind also, actually. If you're hiding your face, it's very windy. So it's, I think, one of the most used mudras and almost all classical dances use this. The Tripataka, for example, is this. The three fingers are standing and one is this. And in Tripataka is often used to do the tilak. So if you're doing the tilak for somebody, Tripataka mudra is used. It's often used to show the candle, the wick, the diya jo jalate hain. So there is the shikharam, the mushti, the mushti. For example, Suchi, I find this very beautiful. Suchi. Now, Suchi looks like listen, one thing. But it can be used to show something very far away. If I'm saying, oh, look at that temple. Oh, look at that mountain. It can be shown to something very surprising. Oh, ye yahan kaise aa gaya? Oh, look at that mountain here. Oh, look at how is this looking? It can be used near the face also. So we realize that through these mudras, they of course have a meaning, and you can read. I mean, when we practice dance, we were supposed to practice these with names, of course, along with our gurus. So we'll do this, and the idea was to also remember that the purpose of this, and what does it show? For example, Alpadma. It means like a blossomed lotus, but it's often used like why, where. Where are you going? Oh, so this movement. So as one movement can have multiple usages, can have so many expressions, and we realize that how simply our hands and our fingers, which we think of our hand and fingers, can be so expressive, can be so emotive, so full of expression. I can tell you an entire story using just these mudras, and you can too, of course. And Ardha Chandra, again, very beautiful, which of course means half of the moon, but can be shown to, used to show jewelry, can be shown to the Shiva, the Ardha Chandra, the Shiva, has. And again, can be shown like, oh, look at the half moon, there's the half moon. So we realize that without saying, if I do this, I think anybody who would be even little aware or will look at little carefully, if I'm performing Shiva, I will do all the gesture of Shiva, and then I'll do this. Oh, you say, oh, this is the Chandrama, the Ardha Chandra. So we realize that these are actually beautiful expressions from our everyday lives. But when we are dancing, of course, they gain importance as a part of the story the dancer is trying to narrate. Bhramara is the, and Bhramara can be used to to have multiple, something like which is shining, something that is like bright, can it also can be used. So we have these mudras. We also have the mudras with both the hands. One second, please. Yeah, these are Sanyukta mudras. Anjali, of course, very commonly performed. We have, the Garuda, of course. Again, very, very graceful and very, very obvious. What it's trying to say. We have the Shivalingam. We have the Shatakam. All the names are here. So we realize that these are all mudras that have been mentioned in these texts basically, and we as dancers have been following these texts. Of course, how we use these mudras will also vary from one dance form to the other. So Kathak will use them a little differently, because Kathak as a dance form is extremely fluid. It's very wavy kind of a dance. Bharatanatyam is more geometrical. Odissi again is very inspired by the sculpture in the temples, right? So it will of course have a different way in which those mudras will be utilized, but the mudras will remain the same. So some dances will use some mudras more often probably than the others. Any thing else about mudras anybody wants to add? Any memory, any incident about the mudras, any particular memory about the mudras? Yeah.
Anybody would like to share their experiences?
Yeah, something about mudras. I'm sure many of you would have learned classical dance. Any memory with the mudras? Any mudra you find very beautiful and some very tough? There are some mudras I have to also kind of think and then perform those, because you have to get that right, because you want to also be able to express yourself well and not not perform a job that is, you're not doing it right. Yeah. Anyways, I'll maybe come to this in a bit. Okay, now coming to the different dance forms. We have the dance form of Bharatnatyam. Anybody in the audiences who learns or has learned Bharatnatyam in this? Yeah. Yeah, this is Rukmani Devi Arundel, one of the pioneers of Bharatnatyam. This is a ticket government had taken out in respect, because she's somebody who not only helped the dance form evolve, but she also became like a doyen of Bharatnatyam. Now, Bharatnatyam basically, as a dance form, develops in Deccan and in southern India, and has been performed a lot in the temple spaces. All right. And a lot of the performance that is done in Bharatnatyam, it has also developed over time, starts from some of the vandanas, go on to fast tempo, of the fast paced dances. Now, it's the most fascinating part of Bharatanatyam is the geometrical aspect. Okay, it has the body of the dancer is like kind of broken into triangles. I'll just show you a small video, and then you can see. So a triangle is formed with the line joining the two knees. Okay, and another triangle is formed with the waist as the apex and the line joining the knees as the base. I think this previous picture shows you this. Yeah, look at this posture. Yeah, the one. So a lot of triangles basically we can see have been formed in the dance. Let me quickly see if I can show you the video. Okay, I think some of you have written comments. Shalini says I do Kathak. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, all right. Just 1 second. I want to show you a very small video. I will not be able to show you the entire video because it will otherwise take up all my time.
An acclaimed exponent of Bharatanatyam, Leela Samson now demonstrates a few basic elements of the dance style. To begin with, let us understand the characteristics of Nritta, or pure dance. Let us first take up the adoption of a posture. Ancient texts like the Natya Shastra state that there are 10 basic postures or structure forms of the body called mandalas. Leela here demonstrates these mandalas from which all other dance movements emerge. Here, Leela demonstrates a few basic steps which make use of the mandalas, but also allow a fuller utilization of the stage. Depending upon the school of instruction, a dancer must master between 60 and 100 basic steps.
Yeah, I think, sorry, I'll have to stop it here because otherwise, yeah. So this was Bharatanatyam. I'm sorry, the voice is just. So this is Bharatanatyam, and you guys can see the triangles I was talking about. The focus was so much on the body's geometry, right? And I think Bharatanatyam remains one of the most, I think, fascinating art forms, also because of its history, its relationship with Devdasis, who were the ones who, for a long time, carried forward this art form. And I think also the fact that in terms of its performance, there is so much work has been done. Scholars have worked upon it, and a lot of experimentations have also taken place in Bharatanatyam. Interestingly, okay. The other dance form that I will go to Yeah, this is also an image. I wanted to show you this image just to focus on the costume. If you look at the costume, and in the front, the way the sari is pleated, it's of course stitched like that. It's, I think, done so that the knees and the legs have the freedom to move, the way they are doing it. It gives the space, it gives the dancer's body the mobility the dance basically would require. You can take the arm at back, you can sit, then stand, there are jumps. In fact, the video by Leela Samson ji, it also shows the leaps. How do you jump? Backwards, you jump forward, you jump sideways. So for all that, quick paced and the kind of mobility and agility, you need a costume that will allow you, to do that. The next is ODC. I don't think I have put a video out for ODC. ODC, if you look at the body, it's called Tribhangi. I mean, the triangular shape of the body. The waist goes out and it makes a very beautiful triangle of the body. So you realize that in classical dances, there is so much is created by using the natural stances of the body and highlighting them, right? Odissi, develops in eastern parts of India, in Odisha and that region, and has a lot of influence of the sculptures. The sculptures in the temple spaces have inspired, and I'm sure it must be the other way around also. The dance must have also inspired the sculptures. So Odissi becomes one of those dances where, again, a lot of Vaishnav influence, a lot of lyrics from Geet Govindam, where Krishna becomes the central figure. A lot of Geet Govindam, amongst other texts, are used in the performance of Odissi. Coming to Kathak, wait, I think for Kathak, I will show you a video towards the end, actually. Just 1 second. No, I think I have a video. I will want to show you a video. I'll show you a video by Pandit Birju Maharaj. I think almost all of us would have heard the name of Pandit Birju Maharaj. Yes, guys? Anybody who has not heard his name?
Legend.
Yeah. Yes, he's a legend. And I will also, when I end my talk, I will end my talk with a beautiful song in a film that he has choreographed. I'm going to show you a small documentary actually on Birju Maharaj. Again, sorry, I will not be able to show you the entire documentary, but I will definitely share that with.
Yeah, ma'am. What you can do, ma'am, you can share the link in the chat section, and then
I can do that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can show it over here right now, as well as you can share the link in the chat.
Okay.
So right now we can see it a little bit, and then from there the attendees can pick it up, the link.
Okay, I think share. Again, I'll share because I think that will be a great way to kind of look at the entire videos and yeah.
बिरजू महाराज ने कथक नृत्य की महान परंपरा को जीवित रखा। उनके परदादा ठाकुर प्रसाद और ठाकुर प्रसाद के पुत्र कालका प्रसाद व बिंदादीन लखनऊ नवाबों के दरबार में नर्तक थे। वहां उन्होंने इस कला को और भी मुखरित किया। बिरजू महाराज के पिता अच्छन महाराज और काका शंभू व लच्छू महाराज के योगदान की चर्चा किए बगैर कथक नृत्य के बारे में सोचा भी नहीं जा सकता। नृत्यकार व संगीतज्ञ बिरजू महाराज को हिंदू और मुगल कथक नृत्य शैली में महारत हासिल है। उनकी शैली में जमाने की ताजगी है। वे महान नृत्य शिक्षक हैं।
There is a request if you can put the video on the full screen.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'll just do it.
Thank you, ma'am.
अच्छा, हमारे ख्याल से तुमने लड़ी वगैरह तो कर ली है। पहली हस्तक का अभ्यास करो। हा दिन दिन दा। दोगुन ता दे दे तथा 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 दे दे तथा। पीछे ठीक से मुड़ना है, संभाल के। जुगलबंदी के बोल हैं,
Yeah, sorry, I have to cut it short again. I'll share these clips with you. So you see here in Kathak, there is so much of the focus on the chakkar, right, that you do the chakkar, and even then the costume is accordingly like this is the again chakkar in the movement, and the costume usually enhances the appearance of that while you're watching, for the viewers, for the audiences actually. Yeah. All right. Coming now to Manipuri. Manipuri dance, again, a lot of Vaishnav influence, Krishna. And I think for me as a viewer of Manipuri, I think the fluidity, the softness of the dance, the strength, it requires a lot of strength, again, with a lot of jumps in the dance. So how do you maintain your body that you are strong enough to do that, but you appear softer? I think that's where some of the most wonderful discipline of the dance actually sort of lies. Yeah, let me quickly show you a video on. Yeah, on the Manipuri. Yeah, it's a small video, but I again will try and show some bits so you get an idea of what I'm trying to talk about. As you can see, when the costumes, I think in all the dance forms that we have seen, the costumes are again, see the colors. Of course, the man here is Krishna because he's wearing the yellow. So Pitambar, the idea. So a lot of these symbolisms, are in place in these performances. Plus, it's the Ras, it's the Basant Ras, as the name says, but also the song also refers to the idea of Krishna and the gopis, right? And that's the performance. So we realized that through the music, through the lyrics and the performance itself, we have these expressions are being made. Even if there was no lyrics, when you see them enter, you can see, what the symbolism it is carrying, within itself. Yeah, just 1 second. Yeah. Coming back to of course, the Manipuri. After that, yeah, this is also an image I want to show you. So again, here also we see the yellow, the dhoti, that is the pitambara, the yellow garment that is worn. As I told you, a lot of themes remain around Krishna. This is Kuchipudi. It's a fascinating picture. Again, Kuchipudi is a dance that emerges in Andhra, continues to be performed. I think in Delhi also we have some very prominent dancers who are still performing Kuchipudi dance. Again, follows classical stories, or follows traditional lyrics and texts from early Indian historical era. Yeah, this is also an image, again, very powerful. So the movements, again, that they have, look at the costumes, the movements are permissible, the idea is, and look at the mudras. I think this is the Devi, because the Trishula is there, the three, the Trishula, the trident, with her hand. So one can make out, once you know the mudras, you realize that the themes start becoming more and more clear. They remain so expressive. I think there's one more, and then I want to show you. I'm sorry, I think I've forgotten to put the name. Is Kathakali. Now, Kathakali is fascinating. I mean, absolutely fascinating, because Kathakali as a dance form is a dance that uses the most mudras possible. It has stories, it has, again, texts from mythology, texts from folk narratives. And let me quickly share the video I wanted to share. They continued, yeah. And I think Kathakali is also, the way it's portrayed, it remains very dramatic. And people will say, why are the faces colored? Why? But the point is that if you look at the history of a performance, or how it sort of evolves over time, it becomes more and more clear of as to why the dancers would have something like this high kind of a crown on the head, the jewelry, because the audience is sitting very far away. I'll show you a small part of a documentary. Yeah.
Fast setting in, some of its cultures have started to fade away. One among them being Kathakali.
On refusal of Kotarakara Tamburan's invitation to perform the dance drama known as Krishnanatam, created by the Zamarin of Calicut, the Tamburan went ahead and created his own dance drama called Ramanatam, which evolved into what we now know as Kathakali.
ഇതിന്റെ പിന്നിൽ ഒരുപാട്
Many great people were involved in the refinement of the art, like Kaplangad Nambudri, Kalladikod Nambudri, and many Tamburans played a crucial role in popularizing the dance form. They took ideas from already existing dance forms.
I'm sorry, I'm going to forward it to the performance. Look at the eye movement, the face expressions.
Kathakali has managed to make a mark not only in India, but also abroad, with many performances around the world, of which I have had an opportunity to be a part of as an initiative by the Government of India.
Okay, I think I'll share the link. It's a documentary. You all can watch the longest documentary with, it's sparse with a lot of performances, different kind of stages, different sort of makeups, and you see, as I told you, this is the most dramatic performances. That has a lot of dramatic presentations, right? So the colors, it will also denote a meaning of who is playing which actor, and the crowns and the jewelry, it all enhances the persona of the performers. Yeah, just 1 second, please. Yeah, this just one more image that I wanted to show you. There have been also attempts by dancers to kind of fuse these art forms, to bring some of the art forms together. It's a part of a performance. Pictures of a performance that I had done, where we had tried to bring together multiple art forms and try to sort of bring various narratives. There have also been dancers like Uday Shankar and amongst others who have tried to develop like a modern Indian dance, which carries the kind of body language and grammar of many of these dances. Now, I think some people feel that the classical dances are not being performed, or people are not learning. I don't think so, because I've always seen youngsters trying to learn classical dances, and there are so many teachers, there are so many dance schools, and there's so much of enthusiasm. I've come to your school only to do a workshop sometime, I think 2 years back, and I found the students were absolutely delightful and so keen to learn and to know a new dance form. So I think what we do need to also understand is that it's a part of our living heritage. It has reached where it has, throughout human history. It has evolved. Some of it has remained the same, and some of it is still evolving actually. Now, one of the interesting things is that for some people they're unhappy with it, and some people are happy with it. That how Bollywood or other film industries also have tried to use these classical forms. Some people feel that they have diluted the classical forms, isko kuch aur hi bana diya hai. And some people believe that in a way they are making these art forms popular amongst even those people who otherwise have nothing to do with these, right? So I think that we have to keep in mind. And this is the last video I'm going to show you, but it's one of my absolute favorite. This is again choreographed by Birju Maharaji, and Kamal Hassan, the famous actor who's also been a dancer, is a trained classical dancer. I think that's why he must have been chosen
అభినయ రాజా గోకుల బాల కోటి ప్రకాశ విరగ నరక శ్రీ రక్షకమాల ఎత్తని మురినాని ఇచ్చావే ఇత్తవణయ్యని అట్కొள்వాయ சூடிய வாடலை சூடிய வாகட வாடிய சிந்தை திரும்பத்தா பூதகியாக பணித்திடுவாயா பாவை விரகம் பருகிடுவாயா ஆயர்தம் மாயா நீவா ஆயர்தம் மாயா நீவா ஆயர்தம் மாயா நீவா உன்னை காணாது நான் இன்று நான் இல்லையே விதையில்லாமல் வேறில்லையே உன்னை காணாது நான் இன்று நான் இல்லையே விதையில்லாமல் வேறில்லையே கிருஷ்ணா உன்னை காணாது.
Oh, sorry guys, I'll have to again stop. It's a longish video. There's also a beautiful video of the same where the Birju Maharaj is shown choreographing for this. So the same space, because this song is also in Hindi, and I know because I performed on this somewhere some time back. So there's a beautiful video where Birju Maharaj is teaching the dance to these dancers along with Kamal Hassan, and he's sitting there choreographing, telling them how to make this mudra, how to use this hand, you know, kaha dekhna hai, kaise. I think this entire troupe is also one of the proper repertoire. And so I will send these links very quickly to you as I chat. So I think what I've tried to do today is, I wish we were doing it face to face, perform a little bit, but just trying to highlight that these are all aspects, and despite being so different from each other, there are some aspects in these classical dances that are so similar to each other also. You know, there are similar idea of expression, the idea of the bhav, the idea of the rasa, that how you express and the audience will feel that, you know, whether or not you know the language that is being performed, the lyrics, but some of the emotions will rub on to you. You will kind of understand what the meaning of that gesture is. If I'm looking at you like this, you will know I'm annoyed, and if I'm like doing the, oh, I know, you know. So you realize that just with the facial expression enhanced with the mudras, you can actually figure out the expression. It's, I think, one of the most wonderful non-verbal communication, because your body, entire body, your hands, your face, and you know, I think for me Kathakali is fascinating for that reason, because so many muscles of the face, the idea of eyes, you know, and it's very difficult. You have to cultivate it. It takes long time sometimes to come, you know, even the movement of eyebrows, you know, that you trying to, you know, express anger, try to express fear, and how these expressions then become you know, a part of classical dance. So it's not just the nritta, the body, but it's also the abhinaya, as we have discussed, and these are all intrinsic part of Indian classical dances. And I'm quite an optimistic person. I really do believe that the young generations have as much interest and more opportunities actually to explore, to learn, to perform, and to also read about these dances, watch these performances. I mean, thanks to Zoom and all these other facilities, you can sit here and enjoy a performance taking place, you know, far away in the world. So I think in a way we do have access to a lot of information, and with online classes, I think a lot more is happening. So I don't agree with this fear that people are not learning. I think whenever I speak to youngsters, I always find this drive in them to learn and to know. So I hope you all will agree with me and continue to keep up this drive and this desire to learn, perform, and share more and more about Indian classical dances. Thank you so much. I will now hand over the floor to Sanjeevan.
Yes,
Thanks,
yes,
guys.
absolutely, ma'am. I think I totally agree with you that but whatever is going on right now, the students at back end, they are doing, they are learning, they are engaging themselves, either by, you know, practicing themselves, or either by watching something or the other, and learning. And I think this is really important. As I was speaking to my department also, that getting to know an art form and getting to know the history of it, it
Yes.
gives you a lot more meaning to it. Yeah,
Mm.
when you go, like right now, if I go and watch a classical performance, I may not understand, but if I have a little history of it, if I understand, what those mudras say and speak, I think I'll bring a meaning of that performance with me back home, and
True.
that will be more beneficial for me than of just going and see a performance out there.
True.
Yeah, and through your webinar, ma'am, I think a lot of students have now understood that it's really important to know the history and not just only dance. Definitely dance, train yourself, but if you know the history behind it, the pioneers behind it, it gives the art form. It is meaningful. Yeah, in totality basically, and the learning also becomes really fruitful for them.
True.
Yeah, so I hope all the attendants and all the students who are listening, as ma'am also said earlier also, I really like, ma'am, one aspect you picked it up regarding the discipline regarding of the form.
Yes.
What it does to a person is basically it molds you and folds you in a better person. Leave the artist तो हम बाद में बनते हैं, I think पहले हम
हाँ,
अच्छे person बन जाते हैं उसके
बिल्कुल।
discipline के साथ,
उसकी तैयारी होती है उसके तरफ।
तैयारी
That's
होती
like a
है।
journey. It's a journey to become a
Exactly.
good dancer.
Absolutely. जो उसमें हमें जो शिक्षा मिलती है, उसमें जो हमें जो कराया जाता है, आई थिंक वो हम अपने जीवन के साथ आगे लेके जाते हैं, एंड आई थिंक उसके थ्रू हम वी लिव by the years, and then who we are in the society, and it shows our character, our everything, ma'am, basically
Our commitment to the dance itself.
Exactly, absolutely. I think that is more important, and all students who are listening, what does an art can do for you? This is what it does to you. It makes you a better person. Yeah. It makes you a better person for the society, for your own country, in the worldwide. Yes, and then you are recognizable, fame, and all that thing that comes later on, totally depending on how you take that art form and all. Yes. Yeah. So once again, thank you, ma'am. Let's take some of the questions. If anybody has any questions regarding
Yes. Just one thing, Sanjeevan, I've shared the links of the videos that I've shown. It's in the chat box. The students can pick it up from there.
Absolutely.
And watch all these documentaries and of the great personas. I'm sorry I did not put up a video for ODC, but I will request you can search for Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra. I mean, that's what I can think of immediately. I had a great chance to meet him when I was in college and watch him perform live. But he's amazing. So if you get a chance, Kelucharan Mohapatra is the name of the ODC guru that I.
Ma'am, if you can put it in the chat section, like if you can write it.
I'll just maybe I'll put up a video only by him. Just give me one.
Nice. That'll be good. Okay, all the attendees, all the students, teachers, educators, artists, if you have any question, please, you can write it on the chat box, and we would love to ask ma'am, and you can have your answers back there.
Sorry, guys, just 1 second. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes.
I'm just putting up a video by Professor Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra as well. Yeah, now you have all the forms that I've discussed. Yes.
In the meantime, it's so nice to see all the legends, being from a Western background. It's so nice to hear and have and to know that knowledge regarding of the classical, and to see how beautiful our dances are. Like I'll be like, when I was watching all those performances and all those legends, I was like, oh, our country's dances are one of the most beautiful dances in the world. Yes, and in today's date, it's recognizable worldwide, and everybody's like, giving a good praise regarding of the work which we have done from the past, and the शिक्षा जो कहते हैं, शिक्षा जो हमें मिली है, हमारे पूर्वजों से, जो हम और काफी आर्टिस्ट जो आगे लेके जा रहे हैं, I think we're doing a wonderful job
Yes, and I think that's where technology also becomes so important,
Yes.
Sanjeevan, because it means that through technology we have access to, things of the past. We
Hmm.
have, I mean, the gurus who are no more performing, the gurus who are no more. Thankfully, we do have the performances they have saved for us. We do have the spaces they created for us. We do have the kind of knowledge and how, I mean, it brings people together. So if, when I used to go to learn my dance, I had met people from so many different areas, communities, different viewpoints, different ages, different ideas, and how art form brings people together. It makes you think. Not just, I mean, dancer is not just there to dance. It also makes you think about क्या क्या perform कर रहे हैं आप, उसके बारे में सोचते हैं. And nowadays dancers are also doing a lot of fusion performances जहाँ पे latest जो themes हैं उनको लेकर के classical dance की language में हम कैसे express कर सकते हैं. I think कुछ साल पहले there was a beautiful performance I saw around the importance of environment. So somebody had choreographed, I think if I'm not mistaken, Guru Gita Chandranji had choreographed something around the Paryavaran. And I'm just giving this just off my head. There are many more such performances where latest concerns. So how do you involve the youngsters and the problems they are going through? We have even the non-classical performers who often take up these issues of harassment, sexual harassment. They take up issues of environment or any other concerns. And how do we express it through the language of? So I think dancers are doing important. I think Dhruvika has a
Yeah,
question.
ma'am. Yeah, exactly. I was just coming to that.
Yeah, I was just.
She's asking, ma'am, according to you, is more important in classical dance? Expression or technique? Like according to you, what is more important?
I personally, I think I think no dancer can answer this question, and they should not also, because it has to be a balance. Because unless and until you have an expression, your technique, what you're doing, will not make sense to the audience. If you have the expression, but your technique is lacking, you yourself might want to improve that, because you will want to obviously highlight your knowledge. The technique and expressions, I think they both together will make the dance. So I think I will say a balance of both of these are equally important. Although I'm a little biased towards expressions, because I feel that as long as you're expressing yourself, technique of course can be improved, but expression is knowing what you're performing, feeling what you're performing. So I think that's more internal. Technique can be learned, but expression is something that you have to feel and understand yourself as a dancer.
Perfectly. So, Dhruvika, I think that answers your question. Ma'am, there is one more. Ritesh is asking one question. A few words about Rabindric dance.
The Rabindra Sangeet.
Okay.
Because Tagore was fond of Manipuri dance.
Manipuri dance, yeah, exactly.
Yes, I think, yeah, you're right. That's I think, good. I think there's also in Rabindra Sangeet, I find, the local flavor, the local instruments. For example, I love the Manjira sounds in the Rabindra Sangeet, the way the Manjira becomes a very intrinsic part. And even the movement, I think, yeah, the movements are quite influenced by Manipuri, the bending of the knees, the way the body sort of bends from one side to the other side. It's very, very, very Manipuri. As well. And I think what I really personally enjoy about Rabindra Sangeet is the softness of the performance. I think it's also to do with the fact that it's so closely linked to poetry. So the softness of poetry, the expressiveness of the poetry, as well as the fluidity of Manipuri, I think probably that's what lends. And I think the cultural importance of what Tagore actually means to the subcontinent and specifically to the region of Bengal. I think for me, Rabindra Sangeet is a very marked expression of all of that. Of course, his ideas were way beyond his time, the internationalism and the open-mindedness and such beautiful liberalism of Tagore. I think for me, that's what it always reminds me of. Dhruvika, ghungroos, I think, become a way in which the footwork sort of becomes audible. Your footwork and your taal has to match. How do you know that your footwork is not going beyond the beats? अगर 16 मात्रा की ताल है तो आपके पैर से 16 मात्रा ही निकलने चाहिए. So I think when we perform, our gurus would always tell us, not a problem Ritesh, the gurus will say बिना घुंघरू के आप practice नहीं करेंगे, रियाज करना है तो घुंघरू के साथ करना होगा, because घुंघरू के बिना रियाज करोगे तो पैर का पता नहीं लगेगा. And with the घुंघरू, because they are heavy, the feet will have to do extra effort. थोड़ा सा effort extra हो जाता है. So sometimes what we used to do is we used to have extra heavy घुंघरूस for practicing, but for performance we have lighter घुंघरू, because performance में anxiety भी होती है डांस करने से पहले ना. So but because in rehearsals, because you're rehearsing, trying to improve yourself, the घुंघरूस were often little heavier for that. So yeah, so the घुंघरूस become essential for making sure आपका footwork ठीक हो and आपके footwork ताल के साथ साथ हो, ताल की ज्यादा भी नहीं और कम भी नहीं हो, that disbalance नहीं होना चाहिए. So घुंघरूस are very very important.
Yeah, so ma'am, there are two more questions. I just combine both of them. First one is asking which is your favorite classical dance. Second one is asking in dance, is conveying message with expression more important than feeling it?
Okay, my favorite dance is a very tough, because I have been doing Kathak all my life. So I will say, because I know that dance more closely, I would say, of course, I understand Kathak a lot more. Other dances I've learned some bit for some performances at times, but I have not gone into depth. I would love to, but I don't think one lifetime is enough to, go into depth of even one dance. But yeah, I think मुझे ओडिसी बहुत अच्छा लगता है. I mean, other than Kathak, of course, I find Odissi, maybe the sculptural association to my historian mind, it really appeals me. And yeah, but yeah, I think I will find Bharatanatyam is so geometrical. I mean, just the fact that you're supposed to, the performances, it's so cut, it's so, I think every dance has its moments, and why it kind of, while watching it, I'm just in awe of the dance. So little tough question for me to answer. Sanjeevan, sorry, what was the second question?
Yeah. Yeah, conveying your message with expression more important than feeling it. Basically, again.
I think in acting there are these theories. So you're a method actor. So method actor, I mean, as an actor, you want to be technically correct, or you want to feel what you are performing and then feel it. I think Indian classical dance, the theory, at least aesthetically, it presumes that you'll be feeling what you're expressing, right? Because I remember we did a performance which was on Viyog, where the Nayak is not there and the Nayika is waiting for him. Will you imagine when we created the scene, jo play tha, us play mein, even the perfume, which perfume will enhance that mood? What kind of music will enhance that mood? I think all of those aspects, so you will end up feeling it, and if you feel it, I think it shows on the stage that the artist is really involved in what they're doing. I think there's one more question. Do you think dance is inspired by nature? I think dance is inspired by a lot of things. Nature will definitely be one aspect, because a lot of the ritus, a lot of weather also kind of influences the expression and what we are trying to do. For example, Varsha Ritu is one of the most popular expressions. Basant Ritu is often associated with celebration and then dance. So I think, yes, it is quite influenced by nature and the patterns of nature. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And there's one more question by Vaibhav. Instrumental music plays a vital role in Kathak. What about other dance forms?
I think in every dance form, without the instrumental music, you can't have the dance, because you need the tala, amongst other instruments. So in Kathak, we have the sarangi, sometimes harmonium and tabla, makhavaj. Similarly, in other dance forms also, there are different instruments that are played, which have, of course, changed over time, because we have the availability of recorded music. So it's easier. Earlier, imagine to travel. Now dancers are traveling to perform. Earlier, dancers will be in one place. People will come from other places. So, dikkat nahi hoti thi. Now, if I'm to travel to London to perform, I can't carry all my instruments. We carry as much as one can, but recorded music sometimes is used. But yeah, I think musical instruments remain essential to the classical dance, dependent on them a lot.
I don't think there are any more questions now. If anybody wants to ask, someone like a last question, you can go ahead. Okay, seems like no one is asking now. So if there is any more questions, we'll come back to you. I can just kind of
Please do.
email to you, and then maybe you can answer it.
Please
Let's
do.
kind of, and the time is also very near, so let's just kind of really wrap it up. Yeah. Once again, a very big thank you to our speaker today, Dr. Ruchika Sharma. Thank you for taking this time out
My pleasure.
from your very busy schedule, ma'am, and to speak to our students attendees today. A big thanks to the school authorities, principal, the admin, and the IT teams, program leaders, and class teacher for helping us organize this thing. As always, a big thank you to Mr. Emmanuel, Mr. Sai, Mr. Along, and all those from Performing Arts Department for helping out in the back end and ensuring that we had a smooth and trouble-free session. And finally, definitely not the least, we thank all those who have attended today's workshop. There really wouldn't have been a workshop without you all, the students and the teachers, educators, artists. Thank you all for your attentiveness, respectiveness in answering all your questions and learning what our speaker had presented. With that, we come to a close of the session. Thank you very much. Wishing you all the best. Good day, and do take care of yourself.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for being there and being so encouraging and hearing me out so patiently. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's time to go, and we can close up the session.
Once again, thank you, Dr. Ruchika.
My
Thank you,
pleasure.
Sam. Thank you, everybody who's attending today. Wishing you all a good day, and yeah, everybody keep safe. It's not a good time, but yeah, best wishes to everybody. Thank you so much.